Hey, what's happening, y'all? So, the subject I'm going to be talking about today, or I guess subjects I'm going to be talking about, are something that I personally enjoy. I haven't necessarily talked to a lot of people about them because a lot of folks don't have the proper knowledge or are properly equipped to have such discussion. I've tried to carry on this conversation with a couple individuals, and it really just goes in one ear and out the other because maybe they don't have the amount of knowledge it takes to actually retain whatever information I'm giving them and give me feedback, or they just simply don't care, which either way, it is what it is. So what I want to go off on first is the Great Pyramids of Giza. Alright, so let's start off with one asking the question that everyone asks, how was it built? How were they built? They are these great, amazing structures. There's no other way to put it. They're just unbelievable. There's so many scientific details put into these absolutely enormous uh, sculpture structures. Sorry if my verbiage isn't the best, but they're just huge, and so much minute detail has gone into making them in order for them to last as long as they have. These thousands of years later, that boom, they're still standing. Yes, some are going ahead and breaking down at certain parts, but still, in all reality, they're standing to the point where we can't have modern day structures be built half as well as they were built. A lot of people go ahead and give outside sources credit, like aliens. Don't get me wrong, man. I believe in aliens because our universe is constantly expanding. We are constantly finding more areas of our universe, and there's quite a lot more universes than just this one. I say universe, and a lot of people are like, well, there's nothing bigger than a universe. Man, I think there's got to be something a little bit bigger. There's got to be more than a galaxy. There's got to be more than that because space is endless. It's like time. Uh, so, with that being said, everyone thinks that it's going to be aliens. Now, not that aliens aren't real, but we're selling ourselves short quite a bit. We have the mental capacity to do a lot more than what we're giving ourselves credit for. Now, there's like a lot of scientists and archaeologists have proven and found out that there was a civilization with elongated skulls back in Egyptian times, and that's even depicted in some of the hieroglyphs that are made and carved into stone or painted on stone. Those individuals are depicted along with a lot of other things like the third eye and the pineal gland. Uh, I'd say that maybe that civilization had something to do with it. If not, I'm gonna go with what I truly, wholeheartedly believe is that it was just a normal, average individual like myself or anyone listening to this. But they had a greater access to the amount of information and power they could use their minds for, rather than what we do today. We are continuously being brainwashed in many different ways of our lives, and I'll get more into that later. But they had the capacity, for, I guess, lack of better terms, to undergo all these different. I'm sorry, I'm not necessarily the best with my words right now. To undergo all these different, I guess, experiments in a way, make these different structures, because even being an archaeologist, whatever building you're making is an experiment. No matter how well you think it is made or not, you're experimenting whether or not your creation is going to work worth a damn. Um, if you look at the foundation of the Great Pyramid of Giza, absolutely massive structure, as I've already said. It has, from what, not necessarily us, but from way back when it was made, with the ancient Egyptian civilization, what they seen as perfectly level from the optical view, it has only moved, the foundation itself has only moved 0.08, or sorry, 0.8 of an inch in thousands of years. And to me, that kind of shows that we had tools that we don't have today that helped us go ahead, or help them, I should say, go ahead and create the pyramids as we know. They had to have had the ability to create the tools, the minds to go ahead and sculpt the tools in order to sculpt the structure itself. And in order to do that, you have to have a better creative sense. And we are all creative in our own ways, but some of us have better access to that certain unique part of our brain, and others have greater access, to other parts of their brain. And it's funny to me that there's so many people that have some amazing abilities, are extremely athletic, are extremely talented musically, they're musically inclined or mechanically inclined, or they're extremely artistic, but they can't grasp other concepts. And I think that's because we have been thrown out of touch with ourselves, our own spiritual being. I can't remember the quote exactly, but there is a quote that goes something along the lines, it's an anonymous quote, of looking for consciousness in the brain is like looking for the radio operator in a radio. We are all these, what it's saying is we're all these spiritual beings, and we're trying to find our consciousness and grasp our consciousness, but we're looking within rather than what nature has offered us, and what we have access to. We can go ahead and access a lot more of our brains if we took the time to not necessarily just look within, because looking within does help in many aspects, but if we didn't focus so much on ourselves and we looked outwards towards the rest of the world. I'm sorry. So back on to what I was saying with the Great Pyramids, how they were made, man. That's just the one question that everyone wants to know the answer to when it comes to these pyramids. There's so many different theories, but I truly believe that these individuals, back when they were being made, had to have the ability to sculpt a specific type of tool in order to make the foundation alone. In order to make these fucking metric fuck-ton weighing bricks, I don't know if that's a real measurement, just to throw that out there. But in order to make these enormous bricks and then put them all together, along with what you can see on a couple of pyramids, the final layer that was has been worn away, that it used to smooth out the pyramids, make them look all sleek. All these little things, all these little details are what matters the most. They all add up. And a lot of individuals, like I said, think that it's aliens. Man, we personally had a greater insight on what our minds could do back then than what we do now. Now, going off of like the depictions that they had, like I spoke about before, of the third eye and the pineal gland, it's amazing the amount of hieroglyphs that they had that depicted the third eye and the pineal gland. The pineal gland was depicted as a pine cone, because when you take it out of the skull, now if you were to dissect a brain and you took the pineal gland out of the skull, it would resemble a pine cone. Especially now more than ever, because it tends to get more calcified over time, rather than whereas back then they didn't have a lot of things like water, deodorant, toothpaste, all these things that have fluoride, especially fluoride, calcifies our pineal gland, thus making it harder to access that part of our brain. It just blocks that shit off. And a lot of us have that, getting calcified in the blink of an eye. We are told throughout the times, wear deodorant. Man, I still wear deodorant. Doesn't mean I don't try and break the calcification off my pineal gland, because you can decalcify your pineal gland through meditation and pulsating your pineal gland and your pituitary gland at the same time. It will vibrate the calcification away, which kind of sounds gross when I think about it. I'm like, where's that shit going? It's gotta get out somehow. I don't know. I haven't looked into the specifics of where it goes, but oh well. But brushing our teeth continuously, like, these are just simple hygiene like things that I still do on a regular basis every day. But regardless, with that being said, you also have to have the knowledge and the opportunity and be willing to take the opportunity to try and decalcify your pineal gland because it opens up your third eye. When you look from a side profile of an x-ray of your brain, you can see where the pineal gland is, and they depict a little drawing of the third eye inside the brain itself. And everyone thinks, man, it's right here in the fucking front of your head. It's in the back of your head. It's at the base. It's close to the stem. And it's really amazing when you start looking at different depictions of how people have drawn it out now in comparison to the original looks of the third eye. It's amazing because they're identical. It's just unbelievable how they never could have gone ahead and had the x-rays, and even if they did split a skull open and looked inside another human skull when it was fresh, they wouldn't have been able to see the, I guess, detailedness, maybe I'm saying that wrong, whatever, that we can see now because of modern day science. So they had to have something within them to understand better themselves, let alone if they were going to look into another person's head. Now, I'm not saying they had x-ray vision, but they knew stuff that Mother Nature had given them that we don't, that they and us have been offered by Mother Nature, but they took, and we have turned a blind eye to. It's kind of upsetting that we've turned such a blind eye. Right now, as of now, I don't know how many people know this. I think this is common knowledge because I learned at a young age, and then I've had it told to me by many people throughout the times, that we only use 10% of our brain. The first time I heard that, I was in school. I was in like the first or second grade. I remember I was in art class, and the art teacher was trying to tell us, why some of us were more artistic than others, because some of us use certain parts of our brain. Left-handed people use this part of their brain. Thus far, they're going to be more athletically skilled. And then when we use the right side of our brain, we're going to be more, art inclined. And she broke it down to an extent and told us that we only use, in total, a 10% of our brain. I'm not saying that we're going to ever be able to, in our lifetime at least, use 100% of our brain and what we are truly capable of doing with our mental power. But I would strive personally to continue to expand my mind, or I do strive, not would, and I would encourage others to do the same, because I truly believe that going ahead and seeking out knowledge, furthering your education, not a formal school setting, is extremely beneficial. If you go to a formal school setting, you go to college and whatnot, out of high school, fucking my age and whatnot, I'd be perfect for college. You go there, you're going to be thrown through the loop continuously. You're going to be pushed through like sheep. Even if you get the one-on-one education you're looking for, you're only learning what is in textbooks rather than real-world experiences and rather than what the real world is about. We're bred, quite literally born and bred into a materialistic mindset. And this world revolves around money. A lot of people say, man, I hate that. I wish it wasn't like that. And then they look at fucking hippies like they're the devil. They're like, oh, I couldn't live like that. That's because you truly don't care about having a materialistic mindset. Now, I personally, I love my phone. I love having the ability to go take a fucking hot shower whenever I want. Drinking cold water that has been fucking filterized. Going ahead and doing my laundry without having to use a washboard. Simple stuff like that I enjoy rather than have to go rough it all the time. But the hippies have it right. Those Amish folks, in a sense, have it right. Every other culture that has stopped at a certain point in time and tried to keep it traditional has it more correct than what we do in modern day society, because we are so focused on being materialistic. Money, money, money. Everything is about money, and it's disgusting because we get wrapped up in that and we push aside the necessities. And then after we get rid of the necessities, we push aside our capabilities, our true capabilities. And it's like, why would we want to get rid of some of the best parts of our brains? Why would we throw the opportunities away that we have waiting for us at the door. Let me read through this real quick. Going back to the pineal gland real quick, a lot of people in different religions as well, like you look at the Pope, he has the Pope on his staff that he walks around with, he has a pine cone. Many different religions like Buddhism and Judaism depicts pine cones in different aspects. Even Christianity itself, the Bible Christian, a lot of people when they're doing fucking candles for Christmas, well, if they're traditional Christians, have pine cones under their candles because it represents something. A lot of them think that it represents the winter spirit. Well, it doesn't. It doesn't represent the time Christ was born either, because it's a common known fact, this one is for sure, that Christ was obviously not born in December by any means. It's just when the wise men came there, that's when they got there, half a year later after he was born. But they use those pine cones and they don't truly understand the meaning. What that is depicting is a pineal gland, as I already said. Now, if we can go ahead and decalcify that and open up our third eye, we'll be able to access a lot more of our brain rather than just using that small 10%. If we could access 20% of our brain, imagine the possibilities. It's just outrageous in my eyes, the things that we could do at such a young age, me personally, let alone someone that is younger than me or even older. I mean, in general, at this point of humanity, the things that we are capable of doing with our minds that we thought were impossible. You look at astral projection. Astral projection is an amazing, just flat out, no better word for it, an amazing experience. It's very euphoric. I think the definition of euphoric. And when you astral project, you can time travel. It's all about based on will. How strong is your will? How capable do you think you are? But if you're strong enough, strong-willed enough, you can time travel. You can go ahead and be telepathic, which in all reality, if you're going to communicate with another entity, you don't talk the way I'm communicating with you. It is telepathic. And you can go ahead and teleport, man. I'm sorry, I'm losing my head. Simple things that we think aren't possible are very possible. We are extremely capable of doing these things. It's about opening up our minds, going ahead and getting in tune with the certain parts of our minds that we had no idea about. Up until last year, I had no idea what a pineal gland was. I did not understand what these different religions were representing the pine cone as. Like, I did not understand a lot of this stuff, but I took the time out of my day to go ahead and research this, to look further into it, because I personally want to gain as much knowledge as possible. One of these days, I might be fucking sitting on my front porch in a fucking single-wide trailer, or I might be sitting on my porch in front of a mansion. Regardless, I'm going to be probably one of the richest individuals I know, and that's not trying to be conceited. But that's facts, because I've taken the time out of my day to continuously gain knowledge. Going out and meeting people, shaking their hands and listening to what they have to say about any given subject, letting them teach you. That's gaining knowledge on the daily. The old saying, you learn something new every day. I thought that was bullcrap until I started actually going ahead and paying attention to what others have to say to me. So I've gone off on quite a rant. I've messed up quite a bit, stumbled on my words. If anyone is still listening, mad props to y'all. I appreciate the opportunity I have continuously to go ahead and bestow upon y'all some of this knowledge and try and further your education in a way that I see fit and that I know a lot of my buddies go ahead and see as a productive way of gaining knowledge rather than the traditional school systems. I hope y'all, it's July 3rd right now. I hope y'all have a wonderful Independence Day. Remember what it's actually about instead of just setting off fireworks and whatnot. Those fireworks represent the musket shots and cannonballs that were coming at us and our enemy, going ahead and gaining our independence. Not trying to get all preachy and political on y'all, but remember what the holidays are about and enjoy your time. Have a good one, y'all.